Okay guys, and welcome back. So this one is a very delicate and dark subject within mental health. It was asked if I could do this by a man who I work with, Colin. So thank you, Colin. I'm going to be talking about suicide, the effects it has on the family that is affected massively, and also why some people might look to suicide. There's always going to be controversial views when it comes to this, but this is me talking as someone who's been through it twice, who is going to say how he feels about the subject. Okay, I know not everyone is going to agree with me with some stuff I might say. That's completely up to them, but I'm also going to use my personal experience with this subject in this video. Okay, and it is a tough one, like I've said, so but it's one that doesn't get talked about a lot. Okay, so in January up to October 2024, there was a report of 3,678 attempts of suicide. Obviously, ones who unfortunately succeeded and ones who thankfully didn't, and they're still here today. Okay, now I've tried it twice and I've been stopped both times. First lot was by a bunch of lads who I used to knock about with when I was 17, and the second one was by a stranger back in 2021. Now I'm going to discuss why suicide, and I'm going to use my own experience in this, guys. And if there is family members watching, I'm sorry you've got to hear this, but if it's going to help people, then so be it. So I honestly felt suicide was the only way out of my prison, which was in here, my head, and it was a very dark, lonely place. I would wake up every day, I would put on my mask, as so to say, and it was very hard. And then one day I felt like I can't go on anymore. I felt like I was weighing everyone down being around them. I didn't feel like, I don't know why I felt like this is the thing. And this is what people need to also understand, is that people who don't suffer don't understand why the person is like this, but the person who's suffering can also not understand why they're feeling like this, like they don't want to feel like this way. I didn't want to feel sad 24/7 and feel like I was a burden to everyone. I just felt like I wasn't a good enough member of the family. I wasn't a good friend to people, and I just felt everyone would have been better off without me, and maybe then I could be out of my prison with how my head felt, how wrong I was. So that's part of why I thought suicide was the best option for me back then, because I felt I was a burden to my family, to my friends, and I felt not worthy to be around them, and I just felt so lonely and dark in my head, which was like my prison basically, and I honestly thought that was the best solution. So I tried to do it, and a stranger stopped me. Thank God, because I've come a long way since then. You know, we're only at the start of 2025, so but I have come such a long way since then, and now I'm going to discuss the effects, because now I've moved forward with my life. I can look back and I can talk about these things now. To start with, I couldn't properly, but now I can, because I want to motivate and help and inspire people to get back on the right track of life. So I remember the time my mum and dad found out that I had tried to end my life in 2021, and I remember walking through the door and seeing my mum, and I just burst out crying because I saw that she was already crying about it, and it was horrible to see my mum like that, and my dad, to be honest. You know, I let all my demons over my life build up and build up and build up until I finally just snapped. And it was horrible to see my mum and dad like that. It really was. And the problem for me then was, right, now I feel bad. Now I feel sort of ashamed, because I've put my parents, who I both love dearly, through that. So I said to them, now's the time to get help. But I look back and I think about the effects it would have had if that night had turned out the way I planned it to. So I know for a fact my parents would not have recovered from this massively at all. Like, seeing how there was that day makes me realise that I'm not a burden, that they love me. I knew they loved me, but I just felt like I was not succeeding enough for them to be proud of me. And it turned out I was completely wrong. But the effects, they would never have recovered my mum and dad. I don't think my sister would have recovered. She would have hid it, because my sister is very strong mentally about that. I will say that about my sister. She is very mentally strong. She'll hide everything, she'll deal with it in her own time, and she'll deal with it the best way she knows how to. So I then think, what about my nieces? You know, back then they was all young, you know, and I just think that it would have been horrible for them to know that they couldn't see their Uncle Jamie anymore, and it's terrifying to think about it, even talk about it right now. It's hard and it's horrible. The effects it can have on so many people of someone taking their own life to not be around. And I guarantee you now, if I had taken my life that night, if it had gone according to plan as I hoped it would have back then, I know for a fact my parents would have blamed themselves. They would have felt responsible. My sister probably might have, to be honest. Me and my sister, we've never been close, you know. But I know for a fact she would have been cut up by it. And then my friends, they would have been absolutely they would have felt heartbroken by it that I couldn't talk to them either. So it's not just the problem is when you go into that state of mind where you want to end your own life, you don't realise at the time, or at least I didn't, the long effect it'll have on the people around you. You know, I've known someone take their own life before, and he was a good man, good friend, and it's not nice. It really isn't to hear that someone you know has sadly ended their life, and you start to think to yourself, could I have done more? Did I see something and not realise and thought it was not intended in that way, and I've overlooked it and not realised? And then I look at my family and my friends and I just think, like, they would never have, they'd always be sad about thinking about the fact I couldn't talk to them about how I was feeling. When my two oldest friends came to see me after I told them about everything, like, they came with the biggest hugs ever, and they turned around and said, if you ever need to talk, you talk. Don't ever do this again, because it's horrible to think that you went through this and it nearly took you away from all of us. And from then on, I've not thought about any dark thoughts, but I've come to realise the effects it would have had on my family and my friends, you know, and also on me, because I'm still here and I'm starting to realise the stuff I would have missed out on. Like, my eldest niece this week has turned 14. I wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have met my partner, who has been absolutely incredible. Truthfully, she has. When we met, it was me coming to terms with what happened and me actually getting better. So I'm grateful that she understood everything. You know, she's been my rock through my journey to be a lot better than what I was ever going to be. And I'm really grateful for her. I'm grateful for my family being supportive. I'm grateful for my friends being supportive. And it's really tough. Like, Johnny Depp said it. He said, there's no worse prison to be in than in your own mind or your own home. And that's literally what I felt like. I was a prisoner of my own head, and there was no way out apart from obviously attempting to take my own life. And it is very tough to go through with it. It's like I said, guys, at the start, there's going to be a lot of things to go around with this. Some people say it's a sign of weakness or cowardly, and in my honest opinion, it's not. It honestly isn't. When you get that low and you feel the only way out is to take your own life, that it shows that you're not weak, because it takes a lot to get to that stage. It does. I suffered with mental health for years, but then all of a sudden it just dipped massively, and I was at that stage then, and I thought the only way to get out of this now is to end my own life. And it's horrible. It really is horrible when you think that the only way out is to take your own life. It really is. But after it not succeeding, and seeing my mum and dad that day, they found out about it a few days after it had happened. Literally, I realised the effects it would have had, because they would have gone to family events and I wouldn't have been there. They missed birthdays, Christmases, everything. And they'd always regret the fact that they didn't. I know for a fact my mum and dad would have regretted the fact they didn't notice something was up. They would have hated the fact that they thought I could never ever talk to them about anything. And I just feel like if people if anyone's going to take anything away from this, if you do suffer with mental health and you do need guidance or something, then I hope you do actually talk to someone, because it's not a nice place to be when you feel like suicide is your only option. It's really not. You know, I won't even wish that on my worst enemy, truthfully. It's very horrible to go out of that world of life and just feel like in your last moments on this planet, feel like you're not cared about, you're not loved. And the truth of it all is, you're loved by someone, at least one person in this world, and their problem is they can't fully understand it, why you feel like this, but in the same breath, it can be confusing at times for that person as well. What if I feel like this? Like, I get it. I had demons, but I didn't understand why I felt this way myself. I didn't want to be in a prison in my own head. I didn't want to go and kill myself. I didn't understand why I was like that. And I think they always say the mind plays tricks on you at times. And it really does. But there's something that can easily just trigger you, and it plays more tricks on you than someone else's mind does. And I just hope if someone does suffer with mental health issues who's watching this video, that they understand that the lasting effects it has on their loved ones is significant. So I honestly believe my mum and dad would not have recovered from this 100% at all. I believe my sister would have felt down whenever she'd think about me, and my nieces, they would have felt bad because they wouldn't see their Uncle Jamie anymore. My cousins, my aunties, my uncles, and my friends who I saw every week. I know all of those who I've just said would literally it would have affected them badly. And I just feel bad that I put my mum and dad through that, because that's the last thing I would have wanted to intentionally do. They're my mum and dad, and I love them, and I know they love me, but I just felt like I couldn't tell them at the time how I felt. And it's horrible when you feel like that. It's horrible when you feel like you're in a prison cell by yourself in your own head. It honestly does feel horrible. And my mum and dad, I've said this a lot, and I'm going to say it again so it gets through to people. They would not have recovered. I know that. I know that for a shadow of a doubt. And it's hard. And I know it would have been hard for them to see me be this way. I know they would have honestly have been heartbroken and devastated if I had succeeded that night in what I wanted to do. And I look back and I just think how much stuff I would have missed out on. Like I said, we've just celebrated my niece's 14th birthday this week. I wouldn't have been here to see that. I wouldn't have been here to see my other two nieces get older and grow up, go see family at Christmas. I wouldn't have even met my current partner, who I'm engaged to, who has supported me through this journey. And I honestly believe that people get that low and they feel they can't come back from it, but they do. Now, if I had, for instance, a relapse, now I've been through it and I've seen properly the effects it would have had on my family and my friends. I'd now honestly think about that. If I ever felt like I wasn't loved by my family or my friends, I'd honestly think back to that moment when I first saw them after them finding out, and I think to myself, the effects it would have on them if I did, and then I would then go to seek help again, and that's the problem, because when you're that, the problem is when you're that low, and if it's your first time doing this kind of thing, it you don't realise the effects it could have on your family, as if you went a second time, then you would understand better the effects, because you'd have seen them how they felt when you first tried it. So I remember my mum and dad breaking down in tears over it, and I never want to see that again. You know, I never want to be the pain of that. And my friends as well, you know, they was cut up and gutted about it. They honestly was, and I don't want them to feel that way either. And with my partner now, I definitely won't want her to feel like that at all, you know. But the effects it can have on your family, it's horrible. You know, I've got a great family, great partner, great friends, and at that one moment, all that could have changed in that one slight moment, and I'm lucky that it didn't plan out that way, because I know they'd be heartbroken every day. They'd have to get up and they'd be heartbroken. Why are they heartbroken? Because I decided I couldn't take it anymore of being on this earth, and I chose to kill myself. And I look back and I just, part of me, and this is just how I feel personally, guys, but part of me feels ashamed and selfish. I'm not saying everyone does and everything like that, but for me personally, how I feel ashamed and selfish that I attempted to take my own life, because I didn't take into consideration the effects it would have had on all my loved ones, whether it's family, friends. I honestly felt so ashamed and selfish, and I still feel that shame and selfishness about it even when I talk about it, like I am now, because I think my mum and dad's, I would have made my mum and dad feel like utter crap, because I couldn't talk to them, because I felt I couldn't talk to them, because I felt like I was a burden to them, and I wasn't. And it just makes me feel ashamed and selfish that I wanted to take one of the best things out of their lives, which is their son. And I can never say sorry enough to them. I honestly can't say enough how sorry I am, you know, and how ashamed I feel that I had got that low and I couldn't talk to them about it, or even my friends. So I just honestly feel like I look back and I just think, if I got help earlier, then things could have been different. But I didn't, and it nearly cost me my life, and it nearly ruined the lives of my family, my friends. I wouldn't have met my partner, and I just feel like I shouldn't have done it. I should have come forward, but sometimes it is very hard to. It really is, and I totally understand and I totally get it. I honestly do, but I believe that when you feel like your back's against a wall in a prison cell in your own mind and you're by yourself, you just feel like the only way out is to take your own life, and that's when you feel like, I can't tell anyone about this, or well, because then you'll worry about stuff and worry about them trying to hatch a plan to stop you and stuff like that, and it's so you keep it to yourself. And I just realised how ashamed and selfish I was, because I was going right. I feel selfish because I was going to take away my mum and dad's son's life, my sister's brother's life. I was literally going to take my own life away from everyone, and I honestly felt like that was the right move at the time. How wrong I was. How wrong I was. So, if you ever get to that point in life, you need to honestly speak up. Learn from my mistakes before it's too late, because hearing that number 3,678 is hard to hear. It really is hard to hear, and I just feel so ashamed that I put my family through that, and I feel selfish that I put them through that, because I didn't take their feelings into account by me wanting to do this. So I believe I am ashamed and selfish when it came to that back in 2021, and now the time is now where I can honestly look back and realise, yeah, I was honestly selfish. I was going to rob my own life out from them, and they didn't deserve that at all. My parents have done a fantastic job standing by me, raising me, loving me, providing for me, helping me along the way in life, and I nearly robbed them of that life. And it's horrible to think about. It's even horrible to talk about, guys. It really is. I felt so ashamed and selfish about that. And for what it's worth, to my family, to my close friends, and even my partner, because I would have robbed a life away from her with me. I'm sorry. I'm honestly sorry that I got that low, and I felt the only way out was to take my own life. So if there's anything you guys can take from this, it's don't ever think you're alone, because you're not. And don't ever feel like you are not loved, because you are. Okay? It may not seem it in here, but believe me, you are. Okay, and it took me that suicide attempt to learn it, but how different would my life have been if, well, how different would my family's and friends' life have been if I had succeeded? And that's the worrying thing, because I would have been leaving my mum and dad, my sister and my nieces behind, and my friends. And it's honestly not worth it. So I'm going to end it here, guys. Okay. So I've told you I've told you about my past and how it made me feel, and I've told you why some people might look to suicide, and I've spoke about the effects and how it would leave a family affected, because of how I could see it would have left my family affected with me. Okay. Obviously everything is my background and story, and also my opinions. I know everyone has the right to their opinion, and opinions will be different from others. I get that. So there's no right or wrong thing in this, especially with this topic. So it's completely up to everyone how to interpret this video. But honestly, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is A, thank you for watching this video. B, if you're suffering, I hope you get help. And C, always remember, your life matters. Every life matters. Okay? Thank you.